As the Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9:22, I have become all things to all people so that all possible means I might save some. As Christian educators, we must be willing to become the poorest of the poor, the loneliest of the lonely, and the neediest of the needy in order to help students grow and learn. You can do that by walking with God each day in your school and in your classroom, with God in your heart and the Holy Ghost guiding your words that you need to say, the actions that you need to take, and the things that you need to do to help your students. Through this, your students will understand that God is not only real, but God is in your life and can be in theirs as well. I hope to help each of you prepare for what might be expected of you dealing with students. Students are different in many ways, but they're all God's children, and therefore we have an obligation to do the best for them. They might be the same age, but they come from many different backgrounds and many different home lives. My first job in the classroom was an in-school suspension teacher at a high school. I had a lot of troubled students. Some had cussed me and even threatened me, so I had to be really tough. One morning I had a student, he was late, and I was getting on to him in the office. I was really being pretty hard, talking to him about his time limit and why he wasn't being serious and he wasn't coming to class. So he looked up at me and he said, "Miss Rickett, I'm sorry, but my mom died last night." So at that time, when that statement was made, I had to take all the rules and all the guidelines and set them to the side, and I had to let God guide me in my words with him. If a teacher has Christ with them and they're determined to walk with Christ in their school and their classrooms, they can teach those around them about God without ever saying a word. I believe as a teacher that you can show students God's values through the way you live your life before them. As a teacher, you can teach students about self-control, being honest, and understanding the importance of being humble. The first value I'd like to discuss is self-control. I currently work in a middle school, grades 6 through 8, and if every child could learn self-control, it would make our jobs as teachers much easier. Webster defines the word self-control as the ability to control oneself, in particular, one's emotions, desires, and the expression of them in one's behavior, especially in different situations. As a teacher, we can help shape our students to first think and reason with themselves before saying or acting on an emotion. The Jason Foundation completed a study in 2014 showing that for middle and high school age youth 12 to 18, that suicide is the second leading cause of death. If we can help students learn self-control, maybe we could lower this statistic. I live in western North Carolina, and we have a very high poverty rate. In Cherokee County in 2007 and 2008, we had a 57.7% of students on free or reduced lunch. We have a lot of students wearing shoes that are the wrong size, clothes that are outdated, they're outworn. As a teacher, you can talk with your students and help them to appreciate what they have and talk to students who maybe are without. The second value I'd like to discuss is honesty. One of the most important of God's characteristics is for us to model as a teacher is honesty. We must be sure that our yes is yes and our no's are no's. I had a student who come in with a broken screen. I explained the rules about a broken screen. We talked about how the screen had become broken. He had assured me that it wasn't earbuds. He didn't even own earbuds. I told him that he needed to go home, talk to his parents, bring in the money for the insurance, and we'd get it taken care of. A week went by, no money, no student. So I called home, talked to his mom. She said that he had told her that I just took the Chromebook, that he didn't know where it was and he didn't know what had happened to it. She was really upset with him whenever she found out the truth and found out that he had lied to her about it. And the whole situation could have been avoided if we would have just used honesty. The student would have just been honest with his mother. When dealing with our students, we should always make sure that what we are saying to them is the truth. Many times teachers will accidentally lie to students by making threats of consequences that the teacher may have gotten busy and forgotten about, or if it was a reward, we've forgotten about the reward. Lies that children do not need in their lives, and lies that God does not approve of in their lives as a teacher. The last value that I would like to discuss is humility. As a teacher, we must always remember that even though that we are in charge, we do not know everything. It should be the goal of each teacher to learn something new each day. In every interaction, conversation, lesson, and child, they should look for something they did not know the day before. This helps us to grow, but also keeps us humble. Teachers should always encourage humility in their students. Humility will help a privileged student help an underprivileged. It will help a rich student give to a poor student. It will help a popular student seek friendship in a less popular student. All of these things will lead to a better school, a better quality of life for our students. As teachers, we should model this humility as Paul did by becoming all things to all people. Many people say that God has been pushed out of schools and public education, but as you can see from my points above, God enters the school in each of us. He is an all-powerful force, but a loving God that dwells in our hearts. Going back to 1 Corinthians, where the Apostle Paul said he had become all things to all men, have you done that? If not, can you do that? As a Christian teacher, it's not an option. It's a New Testament commandment. If you struggle with modeling God's virtues in your life as a teacher, pray and ask God for help. He will help you. And you, in turn, will help multiple students be more than they ever thought possible. Back to the boy in the hall. What if I had had God in my heart when he first told me that his mama died? I think I could have helped that kid instead of hurting. Thank you.